Something borrowed, something blue. Give us all your juicy news, sensational, irrational. It's Wedding Confessionals.
Welcome to another episode of Wedding Confessionals. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Pam.
And the only thing we love more than weddings
is talking shit about weddings.
And we get up early to talk shit about weddings.
We did today.
Yeah, because we have somebody joining us from not technically the East Coast, technically Central? I was going to say Central Coast, but that's not how it works. That's not how coast works.
Coast. No.
I did well in geography, I swear.
Clearly. Yep.
We have with us today Dan Hinz. He's a financial coach who helps engaged couples and newlyweds stop money fights before they even start. He's an adjunct professor in finance, a former financial advisor, and an all-around money nerd. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Hey, Brooke and Pam. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good.
We're good.
Pam put on makeup because she's been up since 5 a.m. with a sick child.
It's true.
No.
And I put on pants.
We're both winning today.
We do what we can.
I was getting set up and ready this morning, and my wife was like, "So you're gonna do this podcast in your underwear?" I'm like, "Well, I thought about it, but no, I think that pants would be appropriate."
I know, pants on. Yeah, that's a minimum requirement for our podcast. That's pretty much it.
Basically.
So, Dan, we're definitely going to get into it later, but we do want to point out that you said that you're money nerds, and Pam and I are definitely money nerds.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're talking the same language here.
Yeah.
Good,
we love a frugal good deal. We love long-term investments. We love sweating over every purchase.
Yes.
I'm the person in the grocery store that looks at the two brands of mustard and it's just like, I don't know. Trying to do the math. Which one per ounce is better for me?
I thought I was the only one who did that.
Yeah, I'm totally in Sam's Club with my phone, be like, okay, price per unit. Fortunately, I guess at least with Sam's Club, they put that right on the label, so I can just run around okay, which toilet paper is going to be the cheapest for me today?
Totally. I also, now in this modern age, I was in a CVS pharmacy the other day trying to buy some kind of frou-frou moisturizer or whatever, and I looked at the price, I'm like, that's too much. And then I immediately went online and found it cheaper and am in the store in front of the aisle, literally buying it on Amazon. I'm going to save $3. So that's where we are, guys.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Birds of a feather. Here we go.
Welcome to Cheap Talk with Dan, Pam, and Brooke. So before we talk more about money, though, we do, this is Wedding Confessionals. For anyone listening for the first time, the way the show works is that listeners submit completely anonymously their confessionals. Sometimes they're questions and rants. Sometimes they're just wanting to tell us a crazy story from the past. But we always like to bring on a guest, and we like to talk to the guest beforehand a little bit about their personal history with weddings, so we get an idea of their perspective when we get to the confessionals, and also just because we're nosy.
Well, at least you're honest too.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yes.
So Dan, how old were you when you went to your first wedding?
Oh gosh, I think I don't really remember it, but I was probably the first wedding was probably when I was 4 or 5 years old, because my mom, I come from a Catholic family, and my mom's side, she's one of 7 kids.
Wow.
She's the youngest. And my dad is one of 7 kids, and he's the second youngest. And so I have more aunts and uncles than I can probably name, and definitely more cousins and second cousins. If you put a gun to my head, I could not name them all. It's worse than naming all 50 states in one sitting. It's it's bad. But yeah, so I've been going to a wedding probably once a summer for my whole life, or at least it feels that way.
Wow.
Ooh, you're a pro then.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
Those big Catholic families. Are we talking big weddings? Obviously,
Everybody's
if it's Catholic,
invited?
We're in the church. So it's big weddings?
Big weddings. I mean, I guess I come from Iowa, and so it's a big family. But weddings are, probably 150 people. So it's a good, decent size, and it's mostly family and some friends. But there's so many cousins. We're all friends, and it all kind of blends together.
In those many, many weddings, have
Sure.
you ever been a part of it as a groomsman or...
Yeah, I had to actually think back about this. I mean, of most of the weddings I've been to, it's just to attend. But as far as being a groomsman, I was a groomsman in my best man's wedding. I was second best man. His best man was his brother, so I can't really argue with that.
And there sounds like a
Yes.
little bit of baggage there, Dan.
Well, no, not really. It's just I was thinking about it to say, well, I was a groomsman and he was my best man, but I have 2 older sisters, and that's it. So he's about as close as I get to having a brother to begin with.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then I'm going to be an usher in my brother-in-law's wedding here in the spring. And that's really been about it. Most of the time, I'm just coming out and hanging and having a good time.
Wow, that's the dream scenario,
Nice.
Dan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of weddings, a lot of free food.
Yeah.
Mostly free booze.
Yeah, of course. So, what exactly do you know your responsibility as an usher? Is it literally just hand out a sheet of paper?
I don't know yet.
People
We had
don't know.
ushers at our wedding, and I'm pretty sure I've been an usher at other weddings as well. I just can't. I've been to so many, I can't remember which one was which. But the ushers really, they just stand in the back and help. Are you with the bride or the groom, and sit them down in the right section, and that's about it. So. I pretty much know it should be a pretty easy job for me. I already know what's happening going into it. But my brother-in-law, him and his fiance, it's going to be just outside of Los Angeles somewhere. I don't know my California geography quite yet.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It's one of those places where you just buy a package and they do all the flowers and all the food and all the seating, and they've got the music and the minister and everything else. And so I'm assuming I just kind of show up and get told what to do and do my job, and everything will be a happy camper.
That's cool. Usher's good
Yeah.
too, because it's like responsibility in the beginning and then you're off the hook.
Yes.
And it's just
exactly.
day of.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no like prepping. Like, I don't think you'd have to go to like the rehearsal for being an usher. Maybe.
I don't think so. I mean, we'll be there early enough, I'm sure. We'll fly. We're going to try to make it a whole vacation. Fly in early, wedding, go to Disneyland, try to do some California things while we're there.
I just got
Make it a-
excited about
Definitely.
I'm such a nerd. I don't know why I got excited about you going to Disneyland. I'm not going. But I made a face, and Pam's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Disneyland.
Just yesterday, I started following on Instagram the hashtag Disneyland Halloween. I'm not going. I have no interest. But sometimes just seeing the pictures is fun.
Oh my goodness.
What time
We'll
of
see.
year are you going to Disney?
It's going to be, I think, like February or March.
That is ideal.
a good time.
It's
if you-
not going to be like high tourism season, and so I'm excited.
That is seriously the dream scenario, is to go like on a Tuesday in February when there's nobody
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're and we live in the Panhandle of Florida, so it's about a 6-hour drive to Orlando. But we love, because we're so close, we love going in like November, like the weekend
Yeah.
that they have like the Goofy and the Dopey marathon type of running stuff. We don't do that, but like the week after is probably the lowest attendance of the year, and so me and my wife are just like, we don't have kids yet, so we're just kids in a candy store. We just get there as soon as the park opens, and we're there until the park closes, and
Yeah.
there's enough people where it's fun, but it's not so many people that we can't do anything.
Pam, can we start a Disneyland podcast?
I think we have to.
So I
Yes.
could ask like 5 more questions, but I'm not going to. It's fine. We'll get back to weddings. Look, what's your favorite ride? I'm like, what are you doing, Brooke? This is a wedding podcast. So,
If you were to build your perfect Disney World, what rides would you keep and what rides would you get rid of?
oh my God.
Oh my God. My head already started just going. We cannot do this.
I would keep Jungle Cruise. I like a good pun.
Yes.
Okay, so back to weddings. So I want to talk about your wedding because you
Yes.
mentioned your wife, so that means you got married. So
Yes,
what's
we
your
did.
what's your wife's name?
Allison.
How did you meet Allison?
We met in marching band. We are marching band sweethearts from college.
Shut up.
Yeah. We were both in marching band at Iowa State, and in fact, I think we started dating when I was a sophomore and she was a freshman. Sometime in the spring, and we dated all through college. In fact, we ended up becoming drum majors together of the marching band.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I mean, it was we kept the funny thing was we were so good at hiding our relationship to everyone else. There were freshmen, that year that we were drum majors that had no idea we were dating.
How
So we kept it-
professional.
Wow.
Yeah, we were very professional. We loved the band. We just wanted to do what was best for it. Once we became leaders, and it was great. Oh man, I tell you what, if anyone out there is listening and thinking about, if you're in college right now and you can play an instrument, you should try out for marching band, because it is like the best decision of my life because it led to me to all of my great friends and my wife and such fun times. It was amazing. I could do a whole podcast on marching bands probably at this point.
Oh my God. I did marching band in high school. I played the saxophone and I had a bunch of friends.
I was alto saxophone.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Not it.
In fact, my license plate still says I'm Saxy. No joke. I'll tell you what, remind me. I'll go take a picture and you guys can put it on the website.
I love it.
Oh my God. That's so hilarious. Wait, what did your wife play?
She played piccolo.
Oh, okay. Right on. Yeah. So when I was in college, University of Georgia, a lot of my friends in the marching band, and it looked like so much fun. And I'm not going to get into it because it was your youth, but you guys know how to party.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so you meet in marching band in Iowa. How long? So while you're in college, you weren't really, I'm guessing, were you talking about getting married that young?
No, not really. I mean, we really didn't get to that point until probably, as we were starting to graduate, before she graduated and left, I had 1 year left on my MBA. So I still had 1 year left on my master's degree, and we went engagement ring shopping. So, I mean, I hadn't popped the question yet, but it was definitely like, okay, yeah, this is going to be happening.
So finance guy, let's figure that out. Even though we're going to get to more of the finance later. So
Sure.
Ring shopping is a finance.
Yes.
Dude, how did you handle that if you're like a naturally frugal? I'm guessing were you always like at that point, like already kind of a money conscious person, even in your youth?
Really? I mean, my dad taught me really well. I mean, I grew up that credit cards are really just a debit card with points. You pay it off every month. And so I kept good track of my finances all through college, but I wasn't really a nerd because my bachelor's degree, I have an electrical engineering degree. That's my background.
What?
But but then I got into the MBA and I fell in love with management and leadership and finance. And I'm like, okay, this is just everything I ever wanted it to be. So I ended up becoming kind of a finance guy while getting a master's degree. So before I kind of had completely evolved into finance or switched over, we had already gone ring shopping. So it was, I wasn't really trying to budget or I wasn't really keeping track of anything through Mint yet. It was just, we went shopping and I said, yes, dear, what would you like? And tried to do my best.
Well, sometimes happy wife, happy life.
Absolutely. Right. Yes. I say that probably like twice a week.
So how long after you guys started dating in college that you actually did pop the question?
Gosh, so we started dating in the spring of 2007, and then I popped the question in the summer of 2010.
Okay.
So, yeah. So about, what? Gosh, now I'm having to do public math. What, 3 years, 4 years or so?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then after you got engaged, wait, how did you propose?
Yeah,
I was going to skim over that.
What?
I'm sorry, I forget.
No.
Did you?
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So my wife got a biology degree, and she ended up becoming a dolphin and sea lion trainer at a park here in Florida.
What?
Yeah.
Is that why you moved to Florida? Because you're currently in Florida.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, and so
Wow,
what happened was,
that.
She graduated and got an internship, and basically as soon as the internship turned into a job, I flew down and proposed. I said, okay, we're moving to Florida. Let's just get this going.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So how'd you do it?
Went straight to the beach. We live in Panama City Beach, so it was a sunset walk on the beach in a pretty secluded area. I mean, there was people, a couple 100 yards one way or the other, but we were pretty much by ourselves. And it was one of those things where I opened the box and I had to close it immediately because she basically tackled me. Like, I do not want to lose this in the sand. I'm just like,
Do not lose the ring
in
the sand. Yes.
That's amazing. So now she's living in Florida, you're moving to Florida, and you're planning a wedding, but you're from Iowa. Where was the wedding?
We, in her hometown in Iowa. And so she basically, the good news is my mother-in-law, her mom, did everything. So it was pretty laid back for both of us. She did most of the planning. I mean, it's small town Iowa, and her older sister had gotten married in the same town already, so they already knew people. And so it really, not a whole lot of options for church and caterers and whatnot. So it didn't take much as far as I know. But, they got everything done, and I think she flew up to Iowa to do dress shopping, and they picked a venue the same weekend and picked the flowers. And so in like one weekend, I think the majority of everything got planned in one trip for her. So
wow.
She's not a very picky person. She's just like, this is the ring I want, this is the dress I want, and everything else we'll just figure out as we go. So it made life really nice.
That's cool.
Wow, there you go.
I mean, boring for us. We want to drama. No, I'm just kidding. How big was your wedding? If it's in a small town, did a lot of people drive in?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, a lot of our friends and family are from Iowa or Minnesota or Missouri, or maybe into Illinois a little bit, and so it wasn't really too big of a drive for anyone. I think it was probably 150. I'm fuzzy on the details because I didn't have to plan any of that. I was just tell me where to be and what to wear, and I'll be there and I'll be wearing it.
Following instructions is smart.
Yes, I do my best.
So you mentioned that you had a best man. How big was the bridal party?
Yeah, our bridal party was okay size. We had 4 groomsmen on one side and 4 bridesmaids on the other, and 2 ushers, and I think that was about it. So it was a decent size, but nothing major.
Yeah, sounds like pretty classic. Apparently Midwest Catholic wedding, just like all the other ones we went to as a child.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really any big problems. I guess the worst part that happened with our wedding was it rained, and so we have basically 0 outside pictures. And that was the one thing my wife wanted. She's like, I just don't want all these stuffy inside church pictures, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I was going to get to the best and worst. Is that the worst thing from the whole wedding planning? It sounds like it.
As far as I know, that was the worst thing. Yeah, I would say the best thing ended up being that, talking about marching band, so at Iowa State, I don't know if they do this anymore. I've been out of touch for a long time, but each section had their own special drink. Like, if you went to a saxophone party, we had what was called the Buffalo, and it was a secret recipe, and only the seniors had copies of it. But for my wedding, since we had a bunch of marching band friends coming, I got a copy of the recipe, and we made like a small batch. So we were drinking this like marching band drink out in the parking lot. So that was, for me, that was the best part, just kind of reliving the glory days, I suppose.
That's awesome.
I like also drinking it out in a parking lot.
Yeah. Classy.
Well, we really didn't need it because we actually ended up having an open bar. That's probably the best story of the whole wedding is that my wife's side of the family doesn't drink a whole lot. And so my side of the family definitely does. We're like German Catholic. And so with that, I said, okay, you can put me in brown tuxedo. I don't care what you put me in or where we're at. We're in charge of the bar.
Yeah.
So me and my dad made sure that we had an open bar, and my family was going to foot the bill because he knew that we were going to drink most of it. And it went great. The whole reception went fantastic. From what I remember, the DJ was great. If there were any problems, no one came to me and told me about them. So,
well, that is a dream.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, we might as well get to your guys' confessionals because my wedding really didn't have a lot of drama.
That's refreshing, though. I promise you, a lot of listeners are more happy sometimes to hear somebody that had a normal wedding with no craziness.
No
and,
issues.
Weather, it happens.
Like I said, it didn't go perfectly. Because we had rain, we really don't have any outside pictures. But other than that, it was a good time.
That's cool. Before we get into confessionals, though, we were talking about the whole, with you being a financial expert, specifically dealing with newlyweds and, newer couples and people getting married.
Engaged.
Yeah. And we thought it'd be cool if you gave us like 3 really good tips. Because, a lot of people listening are planning weddings or just got married. And this is a good time to be thinking about money before it gets too late.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I think, with the couples I work with, the overall idea is that it's trying to take your idea from my money and his money, or my money and her money, into our money. Like, once you start getting on the same page and having those conversations of, are we spending this to help us as a couple, to help us as a family? That's the real goal. And so I wrote a 20,000 word guide. It's free for all the listeners, and we'll post the link later. But the three main tips from that guide is, number one is go ahead and start with a priority list. Start with a top 10 list and talk about your goals and what you want with money. Mainly because that's where you can talk about, well, who has credit card debt and who has student debt, and how is it, going to affect us as a couple, as a family together, and try to prioritize to say, hey, this is what we want to get rid of first, or this is what we want to go after. That way you as a couple can have something you're fighting for, rather than trying to fight against each other, or, trying to hoard your bank account that you've built up. And in fact, I've talked to some couples where if one side has a lot of student debt, they feel it's their responsibility to pay off the student debt, where the other side wants to help pay off that student debt now that they're engaged, now that they're married. And so there's some hurdles in that regard as well. Tip number 2, everyone asked me about joint accounts and separate accounts. What?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Should we get everything joint? Should we keep everything separate? And, I posted an article to Reddit, and it made it to the front page of Reddit.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, I was flabbergasted. I'm like, I had no idea that was going to happen.
I didn't realize you were internet famous, Dan.
Well, apparently, yeah, but not famous enough. No one really knows about me still, but
yet.
But really, the point being is that I read through all those comments. Because my article talked about getting joint accounts, and what I learned from all the comments is that there are many, many, many long, happy marriages with them having separate accounts, and there are many long, happy marriages where everything was joint, and that's what me and my wife did. Everything is joint once after we got married. And so what I found out is that the joint or separate accounts, that's really just logistics. That's how you as a couple just kind of want to handle things and push buttons and pull levers to get things done. But in the end, if you're not talking about it on a regular basis, if you're not having conversations, that's the key, is to have those conversations. So yes, you want to figure out whether you want to do joint or separate accounts, but that's secondary to just talking about it every month and deciding, okay, why are we saving money? Oh, it's because we have this goal that we're going after. The third is that, if you're going to budget and you're going to keep track of everything, it's imperative that each of you have a little bit of fun money for yourself. So, you could call it pocket money or something. So that way, you don't have to ask for permission for every single dollar, because that'll just weigh on you. And that's really, you can do fine with money without going into such deep detail. So, for my wife and I, when we started budgeting, and I had to kind of pull her along to say, hey, I think we should do this. And we started trying it, and she's bought into it, and she's a happy camper now that we do it every month. But we started out, it was like $50 a piece, where if I wanted to go out with buddies, I just went and spent that money. And if she wanted to go out with friends, that was fine. But now, as we've gotten pay raises and things have gone better with life, that pocket money has gone up over time. I think we're both now at like $75 a month. But, we're also very... we're easygoing people. We both like to sit at home and read library books. So we don't have a lot of expensive hobbies. So if $75 a month sounds really, really low and you would want it to be higher in your own budget, that's fine. In the end, you want to have as much fun as possible without sacrificing those larger goals. But if you don't know what the larger goals are and how much they cost, then it's hard to know how much fun money to have. So you're trying to find that balance, find that boundary of, when do we have too much fun, and where is that hiding?
Yeah, I think that, when some people talk about, it's people fight a lot about money during weddings and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that this is the first time couples sometimes are even talking about money.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's just kind of interesting where it's like, that's kind of the time to finally be like, oh, hey, how much do you make? What is your debt? Because there is a point in relationships where it's like that's kind of a weird thing on a first date to be chatting about. And I think
no.
And
Not for a first date.
Not for a
right.
first date.
But there does come a point where like as you get into a relationship, especially if it is going towards like long term and you're looking into buying a house and getting married and all those sort of things where you do have to have conversations about money. And I'm with you. I think just communicating alone is a huge step, especially early
Yes.
on. Yeah, just getting on the
Absolutely.
same page about what you even have and what you want to do with it. And just being and figuring out who is, who can help in certain ways. And yeah, I'm with you that it's like joint or, not joint. I think it's just about communication.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, and the weird thing is that, I have to credit my oldest sister. She gave us a book called 10 Great Dates to Go On Before You Get Married. Or it's a long title, but really what it is it's 10 topics. Each of you reads the chapter on your own, and then you have a date night or you go out to dinner and you talk about it. So like one topic is kids and one topic is sex and one is money and one is, retirement dreams and stuff like that. And so not to say that you have to make decisions. I think the book tries to get you to make some decisions. Because I remember when we had read that book and had that conversation, we had decided let's have separate accounts and one big joint account to pay the mortgage and debts and other big ticket items. But once we got married and things got going, I'm like, well, why not be joint? She's like, I'm fine with that. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. And we made everything joint just to kind of make life a little easier so we wouldn't have to track so many bank accounts. So yeah, that book really helped out. And it goes back to that idea of just sometimes you just got to get started. Just start talking about it and see how it goes.
It's got to start somewhere.
I like that. That's a really good book.
Yeah, we'll try to put it in a link. Hopefully it's still available. It sounds like a pretty popular idea, right? Of just like, there's certain topics that you should talk about before officially walking down the aisle.
Yes.
To make sure that you're not marrying a stranger.
Yeah. Well, and I read another book that came out maybe 2 years ago called Radical Candor. It's more of a business book and kind of an HR book, but the best advice I got from that book is that it's okay to have two separate meetings. One meeting can be a brainstorming meeting, and the second can be a decision meeting. So, when you're having these conversations, sometimes it's okay to just, talk about stuff, but you don't have to make a decision by the end of it.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you got the rest of your lives.
Yeah, exactly.
So true.
So true. So I feel like now we really understand how you feel about money and weddings.
Those are really, really good points, all of them.
Do you guys want to get into confessionals?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
These are
Do
some
it.
good ones.
Okay, Pammy, you put together the list. Mine
did.
doesn't look too long, so I'm already very excited.
Yes, I tried for you.
Okay, Pam, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Hello, Pam, Brooke, Ruth, and guest.
For the record, Ruth is dead asleep. Because it's early in the morning. She's still asleep.
She did not want to get up for
No,
this podcast.
she's a diva. She has her beauty rest.
Yes. First of all, let me say, I love laughing at your podcast every week. I literally look forward to it. Let's be honest. I'll probably continue listening after I'm married.
Okay, this is why you picked this one.
Thank
you just picked the one with the
you.
compliments at the top. If you want to make it onto the show, know that it compliments.
Moves you up the list. Just saying. Which brings me to the issue at hand. Sigh. Okay, so my wedding is in September of 2018. Ooh, we're here.
That's like now, yeah.
All invitations are out and we're waiting for them to come back. Picture this. I get a text from my older brother asking me, "Did you invite my father-in-law to your wedding?" To which I reply, "No." I get a very long response demanding that I invite him at this moment. I know you have questions. Am I close to the father-in-law? Not really. Have they invited me to their side of the family events? Not really. So in my opinion, I am not required to invite him. Don't get me wrong. I think deep down I probably would invite him had my brother not demanded that I do so. Also, I've sided with my side of the family when I had to tell my future mother-in-law that she could not throw me a bridal shower because my sister, the maid of honor, wanted to be the only one who threw me a shower. I guess my question is, am I a horrible person not to invite him, or am I just standing my ground? Help. I feel like a crazy lady. I'm trying not to be a brat.
Oh. So is the question, should I invite my father-in-law? Is that the question?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Because I think it's more now against the brother. It's not against. She has nothing against the father-in-law himself.
Yeah.
It's the brother demanding.
Okay. If you were in this position, Dan, would you invite the father-in-law?
Well, I'd go to my mother-in-law like, why didn't you invite people? I'm not in charge of this. No. I was reading about this and thinking about it, and to be honest, if it's not a big deal, like if you have the room and you don't really mind either way, but it's obviously important to your brother, I'd say go ahead and invite him and just call it a day. I guess the downside is that, the worst part is that your brother demanded it. And that's really what sticks with me, is like what to do about that.
Yep.
We're all on the same page.
To me, this is a lifelong sibling issue. This is not about the father-in-law. I agree. I say invite him, but yes, your issue is the brother.
Yeah, I think that, I don't want to use the word fight, but maybe you need to have a conversation with your brother about moving forward, how we communicate. You know what I mean?
Demanding is not.
Also, a topic like this maybe is a phone call and not a text message. If we're asking favors, just in life lesson for everyone. If you want to ask somebody a favor, probably try to do it in person or via phone call. And text message can sometimes come across as demanding or cold.
Yes.
So
much can get lost in translation in a text.
Goodness, yeah.
I'm imagining also that your brother is dealing with like his wife probably freaking out and being like insulted. And he's just like, I'm just trying to calm my wife down. Like, please just take care of this.
Yeah. Us guys are sometimes not the best with giving emotions over text message. So
That's what I'm imagining. Yeah, I'm with you, Pam, that I also think there's probably some history there of like this brother probably always being a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, like in like physically aggressive, but like your personality wise is probably.
He's probably the older one and has always told her what to do.
Yeah, he's probably a little type A, a little bossy. I'm
Maybe.
a little bossy, so I get it. Yeah, but I think it sounds like you have the money. It sounds like you have the space, and it sounds like you genuinely don't have a problem with the father-in-law, or I guess the brother's father-in-law.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can I don't think you should be punishing this random person who's sort of in your extended family because your brother's being kind of a jerk.
Yep.
So I say be the gracious one, but also kind of check your brother a little bit. Be like, there was a better way to handle this.
Yeah.
Maybe just send him a link to this episode and tell him to hit subscribe and give us 5 stars.
there you go. Well, and one of my favorite quotes from Jerry Seinfeld is that if you can't get the blood out of your t-shirts, maybe laundry isn't your biggest problem. And so that's kind of what this looks like. It's like the father-in-law, inviting him or not inviting him, that's not the real problem. And especially since your wedding is in like days here in September, that, there's a deeper issue, but just deal with that after.
Yeah. Listen, your brother's being kind of a dummy coming to you at the last minute about a last minute invite. Don't get me wrong. He's not coming across as like the greatest person in this story, but it's also like people make dumb decisions. People are dumb sometimes. It sounds like this other guy that is thinking about being invited. He doesn't come across as a mean person.
No.
I say do it.
Yep. Agreed.
All of us are saying do it. So do it if you have time.
Go for it.
Because by the time this airs, it is September.
I know.
So
Let us know.
I hope you made the right decision.
Follow up.
I know. Yes,
Exactly.
Please let us know. Oh man, the amount of times that people don't send us replies, I'm so curious about how things go. Okay, on to number 2. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Hi everyone. Smiley face emoji. There's like a little cartoon in this. This is fun.
It's fun.
Okay. Hi everyone. Just started listening to the podcast and I love it. Anyway, to the wedding stuff. My fiance and I are paying for the wedding all by ourselves because both of our families are broke. As are we, LOL. We're struggling a little bit to pay for it, but we are slowly but surely getting it. Last night, I got a call from my grandma and she let me know that she's mad at me because she thought I had invited everyone from the family and she was embarrassed because she asked my uncle if he was going to the wedding. He said he wasn't invited. She thinks I should call him and apologize and invite him. But she doesn't know it costs a lot of money to invite just one person. Plus, I don't even really talk to him. I think it's been 5 years since I've even spoken to him. Why would I invite him? 2 question marks. I'm sure I'll hear back from him when she finds out I didn't invite my cousin too. Am I wrong for being annoyed? Don't get me wrong. I feel so bad that his feelings were hurt and I can't invite everyone. It was just supposed to be close friends and close family. Sorry for the long message. Just needed to rant, I guess. Frowny face from I don't want to upset my grandma, but ... Aw.
Oh.
Grandma's invite theme today, Pam.
It is. It is.
Well, it's an ongoing piece of drama that never ends.
Sure. It's amazing how political weddings can get.
Yes.
Agreed, Dan. You dodged a bullet. What do you think, Pam?
You know what? I mean, I come from, I don't know. I don't have a lot of family. My family is very small, so I didn't have this issue in inviting. But I feel like if you're the one paying, then that's, you get to invite. You're an adult, you're paying for it. It's your wedding. And if uncle didn't make the list, then you can have a conversation with him and say, I'm sorry, I love you, but I have to keep this number I have to keep this wedding to a certain number, and that's it.
I'm so sorry, Pam. Ruth has
She's
woken
awake.
up. She would like to come in the room.
Yep.
Hold on. Sorry. Pam has her blanket on because my husband keeps it a brisk 68. Oh, hello, Ruth. Good morning, my love. Sorry.
No, that's
Give her
okay.
a second to settle. Hi. Oh, yeah, you have a blanket on your lap? She's going to need to be on your lap. It's all over. There's going to be so many doggy noises now. Okay. Welcome. All right, Ruth. You settled in? Okay. She has to say hello. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. So
Good morning.
Good morning, Ruth. So yeah, I think that I don't know if your grandma's so upset that you didn't invite your uncle so much as she's embarrassed that she didn't know. Do you think this is about grandma being a little bit like left out of the loop? No one likes to feel like I mean, granted, listen, I don't agree with your grandma that she gets to decide who all is invited to your wedding. I think that's nonsense. But I do sympathize for the fact of being around somebody who you genuinely care about and then being put in a situation where you feel like awkward. Like your grandmother was put in an awkward situation. And then, but awkward situations happen. I don't know. Ugh. What do you think,
that's
Dan?
tough. Well, so I would be, there's a situation that happened to me that I would have been in like the grandma's place where someone's like, hey, you going to this person's wedding? I'm like, I didn't know they were getting married. And then that person was like, oh, snap. And then like they felt embarrassed. But in the end, I was like, I was okay with it too. Cause I understand that it was going to be a small wedding to begin with. Well, I learned later that it was going to be a small wedding to begin with. And they have to cut the line somewhere, is that you've got to draw the line to say who's coming and who's not. So, yeah, I think part of it would be that, grandma was just assuming all the family was invited and that it kind of put her into an awkward situation. I hadn't even thought about that. But, I mean, when it comes to the uncle and if your budget is tight, I guess good news, bad news about weddings is that there are some RSVPs that are going to come back no's. And there might still be room to bring the uncle and the cousin. So you could put them on the waiting list, but not actually say out loud, hey, you're on the waiting list.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that it sounds like she's doing when she wrote close family in all caps is that, and I do sympathize because I kind of did the same thing where I invited all aunts and uncles, but if I couldn't invite one cousin, I didn't feel like I could invite all of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I had a limited size that I could fit into the venue. And honestly, I was getting married in the middle of nowhere and there was just a housing issue. But we basically just had to make the decision that none of my cousins could be invited because there were so many of them. So it was like, well, I mean, it's just aunts and uncles and it is what it is. And I think that that's kind of imagine what she did is that she invited her grandmother, but it sounds like she didn't invite these like distant relatives, and it's like, you know, and distant not even so much like far down the line so much as somebody she hasn't talked to in 5 years. I mean, I mean, this is the thing. At this point, does she give her grandma the list of invites so she's not awkward anymore, or does she, you know what I mean? Is that the problem? Is that her grandma feels left out about who is invited?
Maybe that's the conversation she needs to have.
Or grandma needs to write a check.
Well, it could be. It's to say, hey, we don't have the room, but I mean, if you got an extra $50, we can squeeze in a couple people.
And again, I think we were talking about it on the episode we did with Angie a couple weeks ago, was that, you know, I think generation wise, you know, this is a grandma, this is 2 generations ago. What she thinks a wedding costs and what weddings cost now are just different, you know, and like adding an extra person isn't just grab a chair, you know, in someone's backyard. It's like sometimes $200 more per person just to feed, and you know, because the caterer doesn't care that it's your uncle, it's a person.
Yep.
And they just add
It's
a
another
number.
head.
Yeah, it's another head, it's another plate. And I just think that maybe kind of communicating a little bit with that, not in the crass way I am, maybe a little nicer because it's your grandma. But I think that like, yeah, just maybe explaining to her a little bit. I also will throw this anecdote out that I had a friend once who his mother, he was having a little bit of a smaller wedding just for financial reasons and just in general because that's just what he wanted. And his mom came to him and said, listen, I would really like for you to invite these aunts and uncles and cousins that are not currently on your list. I will pay for them. And she was like, give me a number. She's like, if you're comfortable having them, I will definitely make it so that you can just take it and pay for it and it is taken care of. And I was like, you know what? I mean, if grandma came with that sort of an attitude, I think that you're bringing a solution, not just the problem. So, I mean, but it sounds like nobody has the money for that. Like she said, everybody's broke. You know, do what you got to do. I think that you're allowed to politely stand your ground with grandma. I don't think you're a jerk.
Nope.
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere, it was probably on Facebook, that, you know, a bride and groom sent out invitations and basically said, hey, or at some point they're like, hey, if you don't RSVP and you show up, just bring a chair and a sandwich and you can come.
I mean, yeah.
There you go.
Bring your own sandwich.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially with grandma, it sounds like there's something, it's just a conversation to have on the phone and say, hey, you know, what's going on? How are you feeling? And that's what I try to do when I coach my couples is that, you know, there was another couple that just signed up as a client about a month and a half ago. And our first session that we sat down and talked at the very, very end, the groom-to-be, you know, he's just like, well, I got this question, but I'm really not sure how to ask it. I'm like, dude, just say it. Just say it out loud.
Yeah.
And he got, you know, and he just had to spit it out. And it was an easy question. It wasn't really anything terrible, nothing, at least on my end as a coach and trying to help people with money, it wasn't a big deal. But to him, it was a big deal. He just wasn't sure how to say it or how to ask it or how to think about it. And just him getting it out, you could just see the weight like lift off his shoulders. And so that could be where grandma is she's feeling something, but until you sit down and have that conversation or get on the phone, you're really just not going to know exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's a really good point. But yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with having kind of a frank conversation with your grandma and saying that it's not personal, but and honestly, also throw her a bone, be like, I'm sorry I put you in that position. It was never my intent to put you in an awkward position like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's your grandma. Give her, I mean, and it's true. You shouldn't, I mean, I don't think that your intent was ever to humiliate your grandmother or your uncle. Like, you know, you're just trying to get married.
It's true.
So yeah, like try to think of her feelings a little bit and see how she felt awkward, and then probably went in the opposite direction of like, after feeling like this, doubled down on the idea of everyone has to be invited, you know? And it's like, I think that there is a communication, you know, that maybe was missed, and it's like understandable because once you make your invite list, you don't think to broadcast it to the world.
Exactly.
So it's like, I think it's just a snafu that happened, and you can totally, you know, I think it's fixable.
It can be fixed.
Oh yeah.
But you don't have to invite your uncle. You're fine.
Nope.
Number 3, Dan.
Yes.
Hit me.
All right, dear wedding confessionals, me and my fiance have been engaged for over a year. We're getting married next May, and we've been saving to pay for the wedding, so it's the day we both want. My mother-in-law, who has done a lot to make my life a nightmare, as in she still hangs out with his ex-wife and invites her out to family gatherings.
Ooh.
And all she does is constantly complain that we're taking forever to get married. Oh boy. All right. Now, she did offer to help and pay for the alcohol, which is a large chunk of our budget, but then decided that since she wasn't going to be drinking, she wasn't paying for others to drink. So yeah, flip-flopper here.
Oh.
All right. So she constantly is telling me how I should plan everything and how she thinks my wedding should be, all while gossiping to all of her quote-unquote friends, yep, my fiance's ex again, about how great she thinks helping me plan the wedding is. How do I put up with this woman without losing my mind? Sincerely, Fed Up in Ohio.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Wow.
Well, Pam's going to have a cocktail suggestion at the end of every episode. That might help.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, I mean, ooh.
This is a tough one. I mean, it's when I read stuff like this, it feels kind of like someone really likes attention, or it's kind of a bullying activity. Not to say that it's like schoolyard bullying, but it's just like, hey, I'm gonna try to get it my way and push you around to get it my way, and that's tough. That's hard to get around or to talk to anybody about.
Yeah, I think that here's the thing. I always push for this as much as possible, and I think it is possible in this one. Don't fight with your in-laws. It's never worth it.
No.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. I think
Agreed.
I feel like it's the mother-in-law is being immature. And
Yes.
I don't think that it necessarily has to do with you or the ex-wife, or I'm not sure what it is, why she's acting this way, but it's not you, and you're just going to have to, yes, have a cocktail and, keep your mouth quiet and get through this as graciously as you can.
Yeah.
But I think maybe after the wedding, hopefully things will relax a little. I don't know. There's something. She's acting out. I don't know why or what.
Well,
but
I mean, if she's still buddies with his ex-wife, there's a good chance that she didn't want that marriage to end.
yeah.
So this could be kind of hurtful to her because she had a vision of what her son's life was going to be and what their family was going to be, and that ended up not being the case.
Changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And change is hard, and sometimes people don't take it as well as others. Some people don't adapt. I also think that on one hand, yes, this is just about wedding planning, but it sounds like the relationship with your mother-in-law and the ex-wife is going to continue after the wedding. Like this constant thread of the two of them having a close bond and you feeling a little threatened by it is going to continue. And the thing is, you can't actually change what the mother-in-law does. You can't change what the ex-wife does. The only thing you can really change is your perspective on it. And I know this sounds really, really easy to say and harder to do, but you gotta have to stop caring. Like, I mean, in the fact of like, yeah, your mother-in-law is tied with this lady and kind of talks a little bit behind your back, but like to just an ex-wife, like who probably isn't that thrilled about you anyway. Okay. Is it affecting your marriage? Does it affect how your soon-to-be husband views you?
Right.
How the rest of the family views you? How, your inner circle of friends and family? If it doesn't, if it's just one person and their petty opinion and everyone looks at this woman and knows that she's acting petty and knows that she's being silly, then it's like, it's one person. You can't please everybody. It sounds like this woman, at least right now, doesn't really seems like she wants to kind of bulldoze you a little bit, but in time she may warm to you a little bit. Maybe this change is still kind of taking over in her brain, but I think don't fight with her. Don't fight with the ex-wife. No. I think just keep being your lovely self and just kind of let them look, because in this situation, they're the ones that look like assholes. Right?
Very true.
Yeah, most of the time, these people kind of dig their own graves when it comes to treating other people. Because eventually, someone thinks that they're friends with this person and then does something to get on their bad side, and then that cord is cut. They're like, oh, wow, this person really... Oh, so that's why that wedding was like that. And then like everything kind of comes together and everyone starts to get it. So, I would say taking the high road in this point would be plan the wedding that you want. and make all the decisions that you want. If she turns around and agrees to pay for something, say thank you, but maybe just don't count on it. Don't trust that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Be ready. Have plan B saying, hey, I'm paying for everything. And if we end up saving money, great. But if she says, hey, well, I'll go ahead and pay for this, and then you take that money and go buy something else, then you're really kind of leaving yourself into a bad situation. So just, maybe don't trust her that things are going to happen. But if something does, and you want to try to build the relationship, when she does help, say thank you and try to reinforce that behavior.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed. So yeah.
Manage your expectations.
Yep. And it sounds like you're not expecting to win this woman over. And I think there's a difference between just being cordial and taking the high road and desperately trying to get this woman to like you. You know what I mean? It's fun.
Yeah.
So she doesn't.
Yep.
Whatever. Who cares? I mean, it's kind of like a rude way to think about it, but so she doesn't, you got enough people that like you. I like you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and you could say the same thing about coworkers and all sorts of people in your life, is to say, well, I can't win over everyone, but at least we can be cordial and civil to each other in the meantime.
Yeah, and it keeps your reputation good, because if you argue with this woman or you get into some sort of tiff with the ex-wife, it doesn't make you look good. So just stay classy, like it sounds like you are. And yeah, I'm with you. Don't expect much from her, and if she does give something, it's just a bonus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it. That's the confessionals, guys.
Woo, yeah.
You did it. Dan, solid advice giving. I like it. Are you guys ready to move on to bridal breaks?
Yes.
Okay. I think the bridal break should be Dan has to give away the super secret saxophone recipe and ruin his relationship with those people. Bridal breaks, for any of our new listeners, are just suggestions we give not only to brides, but anyone helping to plan a wedding, of something to do that has nothing to do with wedding planning, so that you can take a break from all of your family and financial drama and enjoy your life for a second.
Yes.
Pammy always gives a cocktail.
It's true. I do.
What do you have?
Even this early.
Hey, man, I suggested earlier in the episode that this would be very helpful. What's this week's?
All right. So today got me by the name. It made me laugh, and then it actually sounds good after I read it.
Okay.
So I found this one on mixthatdrink.com, and it's called Grumpy Old Man Drink.
I'm gonna love it. I love a grumpy old man drink. Anything with let me guess, is there whiskey involved?
Bourbon.
Love it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a Moscow Mule. So it is bourbon, lime juice, and ginger ale. Very simple.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. When you do the ginger beer and bourbon, it's a Kentucky Mule. Which is clear, right?
This is ginger ale.
Ginger ale. I would drink that.
Bourbon,
Yeah.
lime juice, and ginger ale.
I like that. Slow sipper.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yum, that sounds great.
That sounds really
It
good.
does.
Dan, what is your bridal break for the week?
Yes, I have become addicted to a show called Off Camera with Sam Jones. If you have Netflix, I think the first 3 seasons you can watch. If you have DirecTV, you can watch all of them. But it's also a podcast. You can listen to every episode. And it's really just this guy, Sam Jones, and he sits down for an hour with a celebrity and asks them about, when was it tough? How did you get started? And my 2 favorite episodes, especially since we're talking about wedding planning, is he interviewed separately Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard.
Oh,
who are
fun.
married. Yeah.
Love them.
And so what's really cool is what you learn from both episodes is that when they started dating, I think, if I remember right, they started going to couples counseling within 3 weeks or 3 months of dating.
What?
What?
They decided that they wanted to make it work, but even before they got, I think, engaged, they went to couples counseling. And the fun part is you get to hear both sides because he interviews them separately.
Yeah.
And so, but really, in the end, it's a happy story because they're still married and they've got kids and they got successful careers, and they talk about in-laws and how they're complete opposites. So especially if you're going through some stress and you want to hear a happy ending story and how a couple made it through by working on it and working together, those 2 episodes are fantastic.
Ooh, that
good.
sounds really cool. So
Yeah.
the episodes that you're talking about are available on Netflix?
I think one of them is on Netflix. At the very least, the podcast, you can listen to both.
So the
Yeah.
podcast is basically the show, but just the audio version.
Correct.
Cool. That's
Nice.
cool. I like that
Yeah.
a lot. What's it called again?
It's called Off Camera with Sam Jones.
Got it.
Off
Cool.
camera.
We will
Okay.
link to all the different versions.
Yes.
That's awesome. My bridal break for the week is also a podcast. So I've been diving in deep to this, and I honestly haven't been listening to anything else. I'm like in this little bubble.
Oh.
So, a couple weeks ago, I suggested The Ringer, which is like a whole a website, and they have a whole podcasting network. And they have this, I said the rewatchables where we talked about
Yeah.
Devil Wears Prada. Okay, so the same company has this other series that's called Binge Mode. And specifically, I think they did Game of Thrones before, but they're currently doing Harry Potter. And every episode covers, I know, I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd. Each episode covers about 3 to 5 chapters of a book. So they went through the first book, and at the end of the book, they also did an episode about the movie. And then they moved on to the second book. And I currently am on book 4. And it's basically, it's kind of a grown-up version because it's very much like people that are like in their like 20s and 30s, and they're very much talking about it. Sometimes they like make jokes that are like inappropriate, but they're super duper nerdy about it, and they're really into it. At one point, just the episode I was just listening to was the end of book 4, and no spoilers if you haven't read or seen Harry Potter, which is kind of amazing. The person who read like quotes from the book started crying in the middle of the podcast because she was like, it's just so emotional for me. So if you are a nerd about these books like I am, my God.
Perfect for you.
I fall asleep to it at night. It is like just the cutest thing. And they're so into it. And like very much like the people in Harry Potter, like Universal, whatever, are really supportive of them because they've been asked to go to Universal Studios and they went to Harry Potter World, and like they're very much in with them. Yeah. So it's really cool. I think at this point they're on book 5 or 6. I'm behind, but I'm on book 4 right now. But yeah, it's if you were a Harry Potter nerd, it is a gift.
Wow.
You're
my
welcome.
wife and I are right now. We just watched Goblet of Fire again last night. We're on like another movie marathon kick this week, so I will definitely get on that.
Yeah, because I haven't seen what's the Fantastic Beasts? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie yet, and it's on HBO, so I have to catch up before I listen to the podcast about it. But yeah, I'm
There you
so excited.
Yeah, and the second movie's coming out here in the fall, so
Yeah, I gotta
up
catch
quick. On that.
up. I know. So anyway, yeah, it's really fun. If you're a Harry Potter nerd, it is magical. It is long. It is intense, but I'm in. So that's all of our bridal breaks.
That's it.
Dan, before you go, buddy, tell us all the ways that listeners can get in touch with you and learn more about all of your financial assistance.
Yes. So the best way to get a hold of me is go straight to my website. It's adultingwithmoney.com. And there you can also, I mentioned earlier about my ultimate guide, and all the advice I've basically given today is in that guide. So it's a free basically book / worksheet / workbook that if you want to get started with your fiance, or if you're newlywed and your spouse, then you can go ahead and get started, and you can get a free copy. So it's called How to Talk About Money with Your Spouse, the Ultimate Guide. And so for all the listeners today, it's free, and you can go to adultingwithmoney.com/WC. So that's Wedding Confessionals, adultingwithmoney.com/WC. It'll take you straight there. You can grab a copy. And yeah, but if you have more questions beyond that, you can definitely contact me through my website and just ask me what's going on. How can I help? And we'll see what I can do for you.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming
Yes.
on, Dan.
Thank you for having me.
If you don't mind hanging around for like 2 more minutes while I quiz Pam about all of our show info. She's giggling because she knows that there's a new challenge and she hasn't been doing well at it. So Pam, grab my clipboard. You're fine.
Click, click.
Click, click. Pamela. We have a website. What's the name of that website, Pam?
weddingconfessionals.com.
From there, you can get links to all of our social media. Let's talk about social media.
Oh, yeah.
Where can you find us?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
And now,
and Pinterest.
yeah, remember all the episodes where we totally shit on our Pinterest page because we didn't know how to use it and we got lazy and didn't do it? Pam is taking over Pinterest.
I've been having fun on Pinterest.
Our page now makes sense. Which makes sense because Pammy loves Pinterest. So
I do.
Pam is all in charge of art. So now we are on Pinterest.
Yes.
And there's lots of links and fun stuff.
Come say hi.
Yeah, come say hi to us on Pinterest because you are planning your wedding. So we know you're on Pinterest. So Pam, we want people to share their confessionals with us.
Yes, we
Tell
love
us
them.
all of your drama. There are 3 different ways. One is an email address you can email us. What's that?
weddingconfessionals@gmail.com.
And our phone number is 434-933-2663. That's 434-933-2663. From there, you just leave us a voicemail and we will transcribe what you say. So your voice will never come up.
No.
We'll put a fake name. Nobody has to know. Secrets are kept. The last way, Pam, is to go to our website, which is again,
weddingconfessionals.com.
and you click on a tab that says,
Tell us your secret.
your secret. Really simple form and no email address or phone number needed.
Nope.
Just put in whatever name you want, put in whatever information you want, and hit send.
We love it.
We do love it. Pamela.
Yes.
We are available on iTunes/Apple Podcasts. What do we want people to do if they're on iTunes/Apple Podcasts?
We would love them to do 2 things. Hit subscribe and also leave us a review and rating.
Yeah. So Pam likes 5 stars.
It's true.
And you know what? Since I'm about to beat her up a little bit on this quiz, I'm going to go with 5 stars too. Pammy. Besides Apple Podcasts, we are on a bunch of different podcast providers. Grab my pen. Okay, so I put them in alphabetical order, and your new challenge is to continue saying them in alphabetical order. Once you stop or mess up, I will take over. You're going to eventually get all of them. I believe in you. It's probably not going to be today because you got the giggles like you don't know anything. The first one is Apple Podcast. The next one starts with a C.
Castbox?
Yes.
And Castro?
Yes.
And I don't remember what the next one is.
Downcast.
Downcast. There's the D.
Google Play, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Player FM, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Pod Paradise, Podtail, Podcast Addict, Podcast Land, Podcast Republic, Radio Public, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, and YouTube. You're going to get them all.
Eventually.
You really just kind of stop at Castro, though.
I do.
You get a little blockage.
I
next
do.
week,
No,
at
Downcast.
least you'll have
I got
Downcast
the D.
for
Yes.
next week.
Yep.
And then Google Play. If you can get as far as Google Play next time, I think that will
to
be
G.
good.
All right.
Yeah. I think
Goals.
you can do
Baby
it.
steps.
We
got
all need goals.
I got it.
Absolutely.
Dan, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on our
you.
show.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
And now we'll go offline to talk about Disney and marching band for hours.
There we go.
Yes. Hold on. I need to get some more coffee. I'll be right back.
I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye. Special thanks to Andy Schreier for our adorable theme song,
And David Kantrowitz for our fantastic logo.
and Ramsey Millette and Brian Maylard for their technical support.
If you want to learn more about our show, where you got to go, Pam?
Check out our website, weddingconfessionals.com.
That's it, girl. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.